This is an off week out of water dry training week. I actually have a number of things to talk about. Some planks. Or is this giving too much of a view down my oversized shirt? I'll do a push-up, a proper full body push-up for fun. A little further into the right. This is a bit too close to the face. This bowl. One full body push-up is good for now. I'll update on my open water progress. I'm happy I'm doing the open water certification at home because, to be completely honest, I think it just requires time to yourself to absorb everything that you need to absorb for successful certification. I picked up my manual and other materials a little late. I should have really done it the day I did intro, but I was still thinking about whether to commit to the full open water, so I happened to delay it. In any case, I picked up all of these materials before the beginning of Module 2. I arrived early to pick up the materials a couple hours in advance, and I'm happy I did so because we have many pages of information to read and understand, more importantly. I'm sure you can speed read through these things, but with diving, your life is in your own hands. For me, just simply passing the course is less of my concern. I really want to know how to scuba dive, and more importantly, know how to handle an emergency situation if such comes up. The entire module, section 2, encompassed page 81 to 115. There's a lot of reading. I've so far thoroughly enjoyed myself. I know What the Fuck Wednesdays I usually would talk more about crazy things I do, like extreme sports, including scuba diving, skydiving, etc., etc. But I'm going to invest a couple minutes to talk about a topic that's been on my mind since I returned home from my last major backpacking trip last year. When I allow myself to label what I'm going through, the best description would probably be some sort of post-travel blues, post-travel fatigue, or even bordering into post-travel depression. I've actually recently sought professional help over this. I think it's important to note that I'm in a very fortunate position to be able to do something like that. And if I'm in that state, then I really do need to reach out. That being said, even professional help is just one step. you have to be self-aware to help you through difficult times. The self-awareness I have is that many macro factors in the environment are affecting my current state of mind. Something similar happened to me on my first major solo backpacking trip to Southeast Asia. During that trip, Donald Trump was officially elected. I've tried my best to mostly ignore what he's been doing because I treat him as some ridiculous alien in a parallel universe. But I have to admit that this fucking ridiculous alien does affect me every once in a while. When he was first elected, I was in the country of Cambodia. I had just visited the killing fields. In Cambodia, a genocide occurred recently within this century. The killing fields is now a museum that stratifies different body remnants and how they were killed. Babies killed by a blow to the head are here, babies killed by gunshot are here. In a country like that, where some of the perpetrators are still in high-level government, people, when they heard me speak, assumed I was from the US and were apologizing to me. Why were they apologizing to me given the atrocities they've seen in their world? I think that his election jolted me into a sense of emergency. For the first time, I cried while abroad, even though up to that point I'd had many years of travel experience. The reason why his election jolted me was because I just felt this sense of hopelessness. Here I was trying to be a strong female solo backpacker, and this fucking guy was asserting that he could grab me by the pussy. I've largely recovered from those feelings, but I think they've been boiling underneath the surface because I've had a number of instances with men, whether in kink settings or outside, that I feel reflected, at very best, a subconscious, and at very worst, a conscious misogyny that still pervades our society. I'm lucky enough to be in the top 1% of privilege, I'll say that. I always clarify that I'm not in the top 1% of wealth like a Bill Gates, but I feel like I'm in the top 1% of privilege because I train the mindset to be able to actualize the opportunities in a way that very few people have been able to. That's been a combination of luck to have the opportunities, but also training to train the mindset to have the ability to actualize. I think many people in the West probably have similar opportunities to me, but fewer people have trained the mindset to be able to actualize on those opportunities. Coming from that perspective, I can say that I feel we're in that very hopeless time again. Why? A woman recently accused Trump of rape. This is a different level of accusation that has been publicized to this point. All previous accusations were varying levels of sexual assault, but this was the first rape accusation. I'm surprised at the level of indifference that we as a society all have. The Me Too movement has been a necessary course correction, but in some ways, maybe because Trump is such a fucking ridiculous caricature that he just wears everybody out. From even a mental stability standpoint, I can hardly imagine anybody thinking that he's done a good job. What has he accomplished? If anything, he spiraled everything out of control in a completely destabilizing way. If you look on all factors, financial, moral, everything you could ever assess. But this level of indifference to the rape accusation against him shocks me and has me in a similar hopeless mindset to a couple of years ago. I'm sure this too will pass. Again, I'm lucky and privileged to be able to express my opinions and have that outlet because I understand that I'm in a privileged position. But for those of you out there who are still considering being parents, I'd say that you best think long and hard about that decision. I'm a well-known antinatalist, which means I think that really this whole procreation experiment is unfair to the unborn because you are purposely bringing those who've never had a bad day into a world of extreme suffering. I'd say the extreme suffering is on all ends, whether you're a starving child in Africa all the way up to the fairly affluent and wealthy. This life is suffering for all of us. As soon as you can admit that to yourself and to others, you might have a completely different viewpoint on whether having kids is the right or moral thing to do for you. I mentioned this in my recent travel talk, but kids are not your vanity project to give you purpose and happiness. And if you think that they are, then you should probably think twice. I think my vlog's going to be cut off in a second with people entering. So I might just call it there. Yeah, I'm very confused what to do for these vlogs. I like to exercise while I'm talking, but that's hard to do. Okay, I think I'm just going to head out now. I recorded most of what I wanted to record.